Hey, the MedSpeds here. Sorry for an audio-only video. My camera is broken, so this is what you get until I buy a new one. Today I'm going to go ahead and respond to Lauren Southern's What Every Girl Needs to Hear. Because to me, this is a good example of this weird new conservatism that's on the rise. And, you know, as a liberal, I don't really like that. So, play the title. Alright, I'm going to do the one little part I agree with here, besides her intro where she brings up the participation trophies, which has really been used as an example to death, and if anything, that's to blame the generation before us, but yeah, with that being said, the part I agree with.
We cannot better ourselves without being honest, and others cannot address their problems unless they know what those problems are. And this brings me now to the topic that I want to discuss. Girls. Young girls are having their futures sacrificed at the altar of political correctness. Women right now can do no wrong, and praising us has become a way to virtue signal. We hear it all the time.
I think that it can be good to criticize bad behavior. That seems like a really simple concept, right? Women are not above criticism. They can do wrong. Not every good decision deserves praise. I feel like that's not that controversial of a statement. However, modern-day feminism has pretty much said the opposite of that. They seem to make excuses for everything. Either they don't believe certain bad behavior is bad, or they use oppression as a get-out-of-jail-free card for the bad behavior if they do admit it's bad. And I don't agree with that. But yeah, everything else that she says from here on out kind of gets into some trad bullshit, and I will do my best explaining why I think that's what it is. Trad, conservative bullshit.
I'm here to tell you the truth because women deserve to hear it and decide for themselves what kind of life they want to live. And I mean the full truth, not the Sex and the City, Cosmo magazine, mainstream media, Marxist propaganda truth, but the reality. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that Marxism is on the rise, but most of that is coming from universities, which are publicly funded institutions, unlike the movie industry, which may be liberal, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's Marxist. I mean, Marxist is pretty extreme, and why would a capitalistic industry promote Marxism? That's kind of ridiculous. I mean, Sex and the City is a movie, and that movie made a bunch of money, so why would it want to dismantle capitalism? What would they lose the money? That's just absurd, but whatever. Carry on.
You are extremely valuable, but that value diminishes over time. And I don't mean the value of your soul or the kind deeds that you do, which can potentially be beautiful forever, but I mean your sexual market value and your desirability as a potential partner and wife. A stable marriage and children are statistically one of the highest predictors of happiness in a woman's life. And your chances of having either of those things diminish over time as you push them back for partying, for work, for education, or for finding yourself, whatever it may be. Good men tend to get married off fast, and they marry young women. As men grow older, they earn more money and become more stable and become more valuable on the dating market. And these men are going to be attracted to younger women. This attraction is completely rational. It's not bigoted or because of a hatred of older women. It's just a fact that younger women can have more healthier children. They are less of a divorce risk. They come with less emotional baggage. And men with younger wives even live longer. Women love strength and resources. Men value youth and fertility. These are age-old archetypes of warriors and mothers. And pairing the masculine with the feminine like this has secured our existence since the beginning of time.
Okay, so we have the typical red pill argument. Men like young, hot, fertile women, and women like older, financially secure men. Sounds real facty, right? Oh, it's just the biological imperative. Facts over feels, liberals. I'm sorry that evolutionary psychology doesn't fit your narrative. Right? Actually, it's pretty wrong. If you look at the actual statistics for straight couples in America, the average age difference between the man and the woman is about 2 years. 2.3 to be exact. Not 10 or 15 years, like Lauren wants you to believe. even if her ridiculously huge assumption about the entire sexes of people, which encompass billions of people, were true, people live well on into their 70s and 80s nowadays, and women's fertility doesn't really start to drop until their mid-30s. So to assume that a man is automatically more attracted to a 20-year-old over a 25-year-old because the 25-year-old's going to hit menopause sooner than the 20-year-old is kind of ridiculous, because she still has about 10 years of solid fertility in there, the 25-year-old does. Now let's look at the flip side. Women. It blows my mind that Lauren thinks that the majority of young, attractive, sociable women would openly prefer to date a guy that's 35 when she's 20, just because he has a couple zeros after his checks, versus a young, athletic, college student guy around her age, is absurd. Like I said, the statistics don't lie. I mean, most people choose partners around their age. And I'm well aware that gold diggers and sugar babies, I think that's what they're called, they exist. It's kind of strange that she thinks the majority of women think that way. On one hand, these trad motherfuckers are like throwing hissy fits that women dare want to go to college and have a career first. But then the same fucking people turn around and say that, oh, well, the majority of women just, they want a man to take care of them so they can be a stay-at-home mom. Which one is it? Are we brainwashed feminists that want to have abortions and careers, or do we want to raise children with a rich man? You can't have both. I mean, yes, you can, because, like I said, people aren't this collective blob. But, then again, I'm not the one pushing both of these contradictory narratives. But let's continue. I'm just ranting here. This really isn't a response video. This is just me ranting to this part of her video. So carry on with that. We've covered that women can have babies if that's what, both of the people in the relationship really want, well into their 30s. Let's talk about other reasons why a man may not want to pursue a person in between the ages of 18 and 21. With a few exceptions of women who really don't take care of themselves, abuse drugs, smoke cigarettes, eat unhealthy food, whatever. Most people don't really start declining in their looks category till around 28 to 30. I'm going to pop up a picture of a 20-year-old and a 25-year-old. Can you spot the difference? Probably not. Not a whole lot of aging goes down in those years. So, fertility, we've covered that. Looks, we've covered that too. Now let me offer a possible flip side to this argument. Men may not want to put up with post-teenage bullshit, especially if they're around 30. Right now I'm going to cut to a clip of Destiny because he verbalizes this a lot better than I can. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to that now.
But you know what happens? Something happens, okay? When you turn, when you turn 23, 24, 25, when you've lived in a house and you've paid for your own fucking bills and you've been on your own for a little bit, and then you go into a restaurant and you sit down to eat, you might be alone, you might be with a friend, and you know what you hear talking behind you? You hear college freshmen, you hear high school seniors, and nothing makes your balls shrivel up quicker than the inane, asinine, fucking gossipy, stupid fucking shit that concerns the mind of a fucking teenager. Nothing will turn you off faster. As somebody that has a fucking house, that has a career, that has a job, that has lived his own life, than to sit down in a restaurant and put your back to two motherfuckers that are talking about, I don't know what class I'm gonna take. Oh my God, the professor is such an annoying piece of shit. And my mom stopped paying my car. This is the easiest way for me to understand that I will not be attracted to teenagers going into my fucking 30s, okay?
See? Looks aren't everything. Another weird thing that she and many others like her like to bring up are the statistics that suggest that a woman's partner count correlates with her divorce risk increasing. But she never actually gets into why sexual partners increase the chances of divorce. She just says that sexual partners lead to psychological damages, but she never really explains why. Now, I've made it clear here that I'm not really meant to be one of those super educational channels, so this is just my opinion and my opinion alone. But I am going to offer an alternative, uneducated hypothesis. Maybe women who choose to have promiscuous sex also happen to have other personality flaws, which would lead to them not having stable relationships, not related necessarily to the sex. For example, bipolar disorder. If someone who has bipolar disorder doesn't get any sort of therapy or medication or anything like that, it just goes untreated. One of the symptoms of mania is dangerous behavior, and dangerous behavior could include promiscuous, unsafe sex. Does that mean that the boning that she did before she got with her partner is a direct cause of the decline of the relationship with her partner? No, not necessarily. That's the bipolar disorder, not the sex she had before the relationship. See, correlation doesn't always equal causation. Also, a lot of women who have self-esteem issues or other psychological issues may reach out and have sex with a lot of men in order to validate themselves. Not all people have a lot of sex. I'm just saying some people who do. People who constantly seek out validation because they have insecurities of their own may not be the best partners. Another one. Just because you don't choose to end your marriage or long-term relationship doesn't mean it's a good one. Women who are more conservative or traditional may be more likely to stay in a shitty relationship that may even be abusive for the sake of tradition. I know anecdotes don't really mean much, but I know someone, a relative of mine, who absolutely did this. She stayed with an abusive man who verbally and emotionally and physically abused her for years on end because she was a good Catholic and didn't believe in divorce. On paper, she would have been one of Lauren's success stories. But if you actually would have seen the relationship up close, most people would agree that it was not a successful relationship. People talk shit about cat ladies who grow alone childless. But me, I would way rather be a fucking lonely cat lady with an apartment full of ammonia over some man's verbal and physical punching bag, with a trail of children normalizing the behavior and going on to either be psychologically unstable in their adulthood or possibly even worse, doing the same thing themselves to their partners in the future. Lauren wants to talk about how it's not a good thing to wait. Oh, you're going to get old. You're going to not have many options to choose from because of your sexual market value. But she doesn't bring up the possible risks with choosing too young to get into a long-term relationship. It's a double-edged sword. The science says that the brain isn't fully mature until around the age of 25. So, by getting married or into a long-term relationship really young, you might be choosing a life partner before you even really know who you are. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this, but that is a possible risk that is worthy of being discussed if we're going to talk about these things. There's really all sorts of things that Lauren isn't taking into account. Once again, to me, it sounds like she's just pushing the tired old conservative narrative because that's what her side believes. Feelings over facts, right? Tradition over statistics. We should keep that. Liberals, let's take it back. Feels over reals? Well, traditions over statistics. Doesn't really have as good of a ring to it. Let's get back to her. I think we completely forgot about her. This was supposed to be a back and forth thing, but it just turned into me ranting to my phone. Yeah. Here you go, Lauren. Come back on the screen now.
And I know I'm going to get flack for this video. I know I'm going to be called a hateful, bigoted person, but honestly, I don't care because I would rather tell someone the cold, hard truth and watch them have a happy, successful, meaningful life than lie to them to feel good in the moment about myself, to feel I virtue signaled in the moment, because that's selfish. That's extremely selfish that people are lying to women simply to virtue signal their progressivism, because you're ruining people's lives when you do that. I'm looking at you, Cosmo Magazine. I'm looking at you, modern sexual education in schools.
I'm not going to call you a hateful bigot, but I am going to call you wrong. Sure, you have some numbers to back up what you're saying, but those numbers were discredited by another YouTuber, Sean. Watch that video. He explains all that. I won't get into it. But it sounds to me like you have narrative first, reasoning after. You never really explain how promiscuous sex affects women negatively. You spend half the video discussing red pill pickup artist bullshit. that only accounts for a small percentage of men and women. So, yeah, that's it. My name is the Meds Peds. Subscribe.